Hello, my name is Alissa.
And I'm Britt.
And this is SkeleTales.
This is the podcast that asks the age-old question of, is my dead grandma watching me?
So, Britt, you know when you get invited over to a friend's house for the first time, or like a friend's parents' house, or, you know, maybe a boyfriend's parents' house for the very first time, and you want to make a good impression, and y'all sit down for dinner, and they serve the nastiest looking, disgusting meat, or food in general. Maybe you're a vegetarian, you don't notice it, and you're like, oh, fuck. I have a steak in front of me. I don't eat steak. So you like kind of create diversions throughout the meal because you see, you're like, oh my God, they've got a dog. Thank God they have a dog. And so you sit there and you kind of like cough into your napkin and then like spit a piece of food at the dog, and the dog like eats it up for you and like totally covers for you, saves the day. And then wait. And then their dog later that night just gets the shits really bad in the backyard, just diarrhea, like just a valve on. They're like, oh my God, what's going on with Sparky? Oh my God.
That's the darndest thing. He's only allergic to steak. I don't know what's going on.
And you're like, oh my God, I don't know. That's real sad. And then you like offered to take him to the vet to look better. Grandma saw that. She knows.
It's just getting worse. This lie keeps getting bigger. Oh my God, Alissa, I have to tell you a story about dogs eating things.
Okay. Oh.
Do you remember my sweet boy Klaus, who has since passed?
Oh my God. Klaus, who looked like an old man dog the day he was born. He was 100.
Yes. He was born looking 100 years old.
Yes.
So this was back when we were living in Denver. We lived pretty close downtown Denver, and our roommate at the time, Cade, who we all had the shaved heads at the same time.
The cult.
Anyway, so he's walking Klaus, and he's walking him down by the Platte River, which is in downtown Denver. It's really lovely and lush and wonderful. And I want to say he took him off the leash. He was like, you know what, Klaus, live your best life, romp in the water. Klaus romped in the water. And whilst on the edge of the Platte River, he discovered a homeless man's turd and ate it.
Oh, Britt, come on.
It gets better. It gets better. So then they get home. Cade says, sorry, guys, Klaus ate a turd.
Okay.
Not but 10 minutes later, a smell comes from the living room that was not appropriate for a dog's stomach. So he just threw it up in the living room.
I hate this so much.
It was right in the middle of our rug in the living room, and it was the most rancid smell you can imagine.
It's so fucking gross.
You're welcome.
Our listeners, we just lost half our listeners because they were driving, and they all just drove their cars straight off a road to make your story stop.
I've not had anybody be able to top that.
Into trees.
Yeah, everybody's in trees right now.
Everyone has crashed their car. No one's listening anymore. Everyone's barfing. That's disgusting. The Platte River.
It was so bad. It was so bad. And that rug was never the same. Ever.
You can't throw that right out. Throw that right into the Platte River.
We did not keep
right back.
Right back into the Platte River.
Yeah, as soon as you started describing the Platte River as lush and beautiful, I was like, are we remembering the same place?
Half trash and heroin needles.
Yeah, and there are always signs like, don't go swimming in here. There are all like, don't go swimming. All the diseases are at all-time high levels from always. Like, I could see Cade swimming in the Platte River, though.
Oh, I'm certain we all did, honestly.
We looked at the signs and I said, no, thank you. I was not one of them. Your weird little cult house over there. I could see you guys all doing
bathe in it and drink from its, flowing waters. I didn't do that, but
they were like upstream. Like actually, the Platte runs north, so downstream from where you're talking about, that like some cattle company or something, they just buried a whole bunch of dead cows there, but like so many that they never actually decayed. There was like no room. And so like basically there was like just this like beef stew of like raw beef, rotting beef stew underneath the ground there, and like flowed into the Platte River. Like,
everybody is throwing up now.
It's the grossest.
This is the grossest episode. I think that this beats the fly zombies for sure.
That was really disgusting. I did not expect you to tell me that. Any dog that eats poop, I'm like, nah, I'm out. That dog's out. Get rid of it. But Klaus was cute.
You just get rid of the whole dog.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
Aww.
Anyone who eats shit may not be in my presence. That's my rule. If you eat shit on the regular. I like dogs. They're just disgusting. Case in point. And then your other dog, Nico, used to just shit all over my floor every time he came over. Big dump on the floor.
No, not Nico.
You're
thinking of another dog.
Yeah.
You're thinking it must have been that ghost dog.
Yeah.
Alyssa.
Yeah.
Do we just talk about dog shit and not eating steak?
No, and never again. We don't ever. We talk about true tales of the strange, unusual, and paranormal.
That's right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Speaking of pets, I have some pet hauntings for us today.
If I had known you were telling that Klaus story, I would never gone along with this topic. That was a whole set. You like pitched this whole thing to tell that horrible story.
Yes, I did actually.
This whole episode is based around that disgusting story.
Queasy. This next story comes fresh and steamy from our hotbox. The inbox. Alyssa is shaking her head. She hates it so much.
Looking for my anti-nausea
She hates
pills.
me so much. Not this story. This story comes from Vicki, and I did not pre-read this story, so it will be a surprise for all of us at the same time.
All right.
First off, let me say that I love the podcast and all things spooky, but I'm a skeptic, even though I'm pretty sure I saw my dead grandma standing in my room when I was 4, but that's another story. I lived in my house for 22 years and have never felt, seen, or heard anything. Several years ago, I started fostering cats and kittens through my local animal shelter. One of the first litters I fostered was 5 tiny 4-week-old brown tabbies. Eventually, all but one, my favorite, were adopted, and I ended up adopting the last little guy. I named him Bodie, and he loved to play and chase and jump. Unfortunately, Bodie's life was cut short due to a congenital heart defect, and he passed away just 4 years old. After some time off, I began fostering again in Bodie's honor. Aww. I have a room just for fosters and decided I needed a webcam so I could check on them when I wasn't home or throughout the night without having to get out of bed. Immediately, orbs started appearing on the camera at night. Being the skeptic I am, I explained most of it away as dust or even little insects. But there was one that was definitely different in the way it moved, and it was much brighter than the others. I moved the camera to several different locations in the room to make sure I wasn't picking up a glare from the window. Nope, it would still show up no matter where the camera was. The way it moved was so chaotic, almost like it was playing. Most of the time, the fosters in the room ignored it. Sometimes it seemed like they saw it too, but they were never scared by it. I like to believe it's Bodie, checking in and playing from time to time. My sweet 16-year-old corgi mix, Lola, passed away in January from a long battle with cancer. She and my 1-year-old cat, Simon, were besties. All of my pets took Lola's passing hard, but especially Simon. A week later, I brought Lola's ashes home and placed them on the shelf next to Bodie's ashes. Within minutes, Simon was staring directly at Lola's urn and chattering away like he knew it was her. He knew his friend was home. He still, in quote, talks to her occasionally. I love the idea of my cherished pet still being around. Oh, I love that. That reminds me of something I literally saw today when researching. I haven't read this, so I didn't even know. I have a video, which I'll post in our SkeleTales community, of a man who caught on his backdoor camera his living dog playing with a ghost dog. And the ghost dog is in ghost form. It almost even just looks like a white dog. But apparently this guy has these like 8 or 10 foot tall fences where nothing can get in. And after he sees his dog playing with this dog, he goes into the backyard to like see if there's another dog back there. No other dog, just his own dog. It's the wildest video. I'll post it on our social media so everyone can see. But I just love the idea of the pets coming back and hanging out with their owners.
I love that idea too. I mean, and dogs of like pets of all things should probably haunt houses more than anybody because they're home like all the time, right?
It's true.
They really
it's
should.
True.
I feel like fostering kittens would be very dangerous. Any small, adorable little animal fostering, like you're not going to give them all away. How can you do that repeatedly?
Oh,
to
that
yourself?
kind of dangerous. Yes, you end up with 18 cats.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, that's
Totally.
a good idea. Then you get like the little taste of kitten. I'm like, oh, bullshit, Alissa. You would end up with just a house full
All
of cats.
of them.
She's putting out an addition. She started with a whole room now. Soon they're going to have a wing. She's going to have a whole building for her fosters.
And then she's like, this is the human room and the rest of the house is for the cats.
Exactly. Let's just swap.
Welcome.
Oh, that was sweet. Thanks so much for writing in, Vicki.
Thanks, Vicki. That was delightful.
Okay, so I really tried hard to find a story about like a ghost squirrel.
Uh-huh.
I didn't find one.
Nothing. No ghost squirrels.
So instead, I'm going to tell a couple near-death experiences that involve animals. They mention the word of an animal in the story, and so
that counts. Absolutely counts.
And so this is actually from a study of pediatric near-death experiences from William J. Serdali, Montana State University. So the first was from Pat. And when Pat was 7 years old, he fell from a fishing bridge into a lagoon below. He struck his head on a rock at the bottom of the pond and nearly drowned. Professional rescuers had difficulty finding a pulse. His heart had ceased beating and he had stopped breathing. A little while after his NDE, that's near-death experience, Pat told his mother that he had died after falling into the lagoon. When he was 8 years old, he described his NDE. Pat's NDE reached stage 3, according to Kenneth Ring's model. So Kenneth Ring in 1980 had a model of like levels of rings.
How dead you were.
Yeah, like stages of death and near-death experiences.
Oh, interesting.
So Pat reached a stage 3. He floated out of his body and saw a police officer trying to save him by diving into the water to pull him out. He also saw himself first being transported to a local hospital by ambulance and then to another hospital in a nearby city by helicopter. Pat found himself in a dark black tunnel in which his 2 deceased pets, a cat and a dog, appeared to him. The former family cat brushed against his leg, and his dog licked his face, sending Pat back into his body. He did not encounter any other spirits or presence while in the tunnel. All of Pat's close relatives were alive at the time of his NDE. He did not see a light at the end of the tunnel, but he did see white clouds up above the tunnel. When asked about a life review while in the tunnel, Pat said he did not have one. When asked about time during his NDE, he replied, "Time doesn't exist."
Interesting. This is so encouraging as somebody who's like lost pets to like, my Nico and Klaus could be up there waiting for me.
Oh my God, all of them. Oh my God, it's going to be so
and
crowded.
The chickens and the rats.
It's going to be a really crowded
my cat Romeo
tunnel. You're just going mauled by pets.
Like, let me through, guys.
Yeah, wade through the herd of pets to then the people waiting beyond you. So the second one is from Natalie. And at age 17 and a half, Natalie talked about her near-death experience of 2 years earlier. An acute asthma attack caused her to pass out in her pediatrician's clinic after she had been driven there on the onset of her respiratory distress. Later, she was told she had a seizure while unconscious. Her physician diagnosed her condition as a life-threatening episode of status asthmaticus. That's kind of a fun word to say.
It's a fun way to have.
Status asthmaticus. I mean, it sounds scary, but it's kind of cool.
Sounds like a band.
Yeah, it does. Okay. During her stage 4 NDE, she found herself in a tunnel, thinking logically about being in the tunnel and yet knowing she was having an asthma attack. Suddenly, 2 light figures, that's in quotes, and those were her words, came to her. These beings were of the same bright light she saw at the tunnel's end. The friendly light figures, one on either side of her, each took one of her hands, and together the 3 of them floated towards the light. Natalie recalled wanting to go to the light badly, that was her words, and reported that the light beings seemed to be going too slowly for her liking. As they were traveling down the tunnel, images from her past floated above her head. The most memorable image was that of her father swinging her. Then Natalie saw her mother and how sad her mother and her other relatives would be if she died. She felt worried for her family should she die. At that point, the light figures set her down and she walked out of the tunnel and back to her body. Natalie saw lots of other light figures waiting for her in the light at the tunnel's end. She believed they would have welcomed her, but she did not recognize any of them. At the time of her NDE, all of the people close to Natalie were still alive. Her 2 parental grandparents had passed away when she was quite young, but she had no recollection of them. Natalie reported that it was difficult to judge time during her NDE. She mentioned that the NDE happened fast, but that the light figures seemed to be going slowly.
I do love the idea of, how time is during your NDE.
Yeah. I just like the idea of being in a near-death experience and there's just like, hurry it up, like spit it out,
like,
let's
go.
go.
I want to go there. Like if you're going to a carnival and you're like, come on, Mom, come on, Dad, and they're walking really slowly and you're like,
yeah. Well, then it also begs the question because so there are these 2 light figures who are guiding her and she doesn't know anyone who's died. But she does have 2 parental grandparents who have passed. That
grandparents are notorious for moving slowly.
Oh my God, so old, so slow. But all of these near-death experiences have some sort of being in a light present. And if you have a memory of somebody that you could apply to it,
does that then they represent these beings, like their face? Oh, it's grandma.
Yes. They're like shapeshifter or skinwalker, right? They're like, okay, we're going to assume this familiar face or this familiar face. And she didn't have anyone, or this familiar dog or this pet, someone they've loved and they know has moved on.
Yeah.
I thought,
I like that one. That's good.
So my last one. So this one is from Mike. And when Mike was 4 years old, he fell off a high diving board and landed on his head on the concrete below. I know.
Oh, God, no. How old was he?
4.
Oh, babe. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
His mother came to him and cradled him. Finding no vital signs, she closed his eyes, covered him with a towel, and said goodbye to him.
Oh my God.
Isn't that horrible? Like she walked away. I don't know. Like, that's terrible. The trauma. Floating out of his body, Mike saw his mother below holding him. He next found himself in a cloudiness or a fog. Then a shaft of light that was bright, warm, and yellow like the sun penetrated the fog and surrounded him, making this a stage 5 NDE, according to Ring's model. His out-of-body experience was at first scary, but then he felt he was with friends, at which point he felt peaceful and pain-free. A warm hand touched his shoulder as he looked at his body below, preventing him from turning around. A comforting, loving male voice coming from the presence whose hand was on his shoulder told him, This is not your time. Do you want to go back or stay here? Mike reported that he believed he would miss his parents if he died. He told the presence, who he thought might have been Jesus, that he would like to go back, and he was back in his body in an instant.
Wow.
And so then it goes on in this, again, this was like a research paper. Did any of these people have like any long-term powers or experiences like from long-lasting
like
effects from the
big
NDE?
like did you end up saving somebody's life when you were 20 or something, right? Like they're brought back to do something big and good?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we should do a follow-up study and reach out. No, not like that. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was hopeful.
So Mike's mother reported a couple of things that she regards as after effects of his NDE. So Mike, let me remind you, was the one who fell on his head off of the diving board. Ay. Okay. He exhibited great faith that his stolen puppy would be returned, and it was. And once when his father went on a trip to Australia, Mike began to make a cross on his mother's forehead when she was presumed by Mike to be asleep. Making such a cross was something that the grandmother had done to his father when Mike's father was a boy. His mother wondered how Mike could have known this when he had never seen his grandmother. So he started doing
interesting.
Yeah, taking up habits of people who they never met.
Passed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And then Pat also had at least one incident that may have been an after effect of his NDE, and Pat's the one who fell off the fishing bridge and almost drowned, about 2.5 years after his near-death experience. One evening, his father and his brother went out into the woods in a truck to pick up two relatives whose vehicle had broken down. About 8:55 p.m., Pat urgently called his mother, demanding that instance they say a prayer they had been recently learning. When Pat's father and brother returned later that night, his father related that they had nearly been killed. Their truck had apparently lost traction on a steep incline and rolled backwards out of control when it stopped suddenly, according to Pat's father, about 5 minutes to 9 o'clock.
Ooh. Psychic Pat, like it.
I know. So they brought a little something, possibly. Okay, so that's what I have for now. Do you have another story?
I do. So my go-to gal for paranormal pet encounters is my friend Kendall. I don't know if you remember the last story I told of when her sweet cat Fen was put down and a butterfly appeared shortly before he died. And Fen was like practically immobile. This butterfly shows up and he leaps up and starts playing with the butterfly like he's a little kitten. And then after he's done playing, he goes and he lays down and literally like looks at Kendall and is like, okay, I'm ready now. And so we were all shocked because we were pretty sure this butterfly was like Kendall's other cat, Vivian. So over the last year, Kendall has lost all 3 of her cats. So it was Fen and Frank, who also died of the congenital heart thing, like Vicky's cat did.
Oh, Bodhi.
And then Vivian. So, and all just so close to each other. And so it's been, really hard for her. Finn was, such a staple in her life. Well, right after I tell this butterfly story on the podcast, I had gone to visit her and she told me another story. So a week after Finn had passed away, she's bringing in groceries from her car and she's walking into her front entryway on her way to the front door, and she sees 3 butterflies flitting around. 2 of them seem to be like playing around the entryway, and one of them is resting on her flower bush by the front door. And she goes, her initial reaction is like, oh my gosh, it's my cats. But then she's like, be logical here, Kendall. She goes in, she puts her groceries away, and she's like, okay, if they're still there when I go back outside, It's totally my cats. So she walks out front again, and sure enough, 3 butterflies, just the one on the bush and the 2 they're just playing together right there in the entryway. And she is just like sort of taking in the like preciousness of it all. And she goes and stands by this butterfly that's on the bush, and she looks down at the butterfly and she says, I swear that butterfly looked up at me. And she just she is, she's just filled with love for her cat, Fen, and she knows that that's Fen, and she goes, it's okay, you can go play with them too. Not but 1 second later, it flies off of the bush and starts playing with the other 2 butterflies, and then they fly away.
Oh my gosh.
She told me that story, and she's like, it's probably nothing. I was like, no way. That was totally your 3 fucking cats, like, coming to say hi. And, like, I think maybe Fen just wanted her approval to be like, you don't have to stay here. It's okay. You can go.
When a butterfly reacts to you, that's not normal. I don't think.
No, butterflies don't just like, you can't train a butterfly.
No, they have no control over their bodies. We've established this, remember?
It's true. So I have a little bonus update too.
Okay.
About a month ago, Kendall was telling me that she has been working through her grieving and healing over the loss of the kitties. So she's deep cleaning her house, and she's in her bedroom and she's cleaning, and on her dresser, she has a picture of one of each of her cats, and she's dusting off the dresser and she's picking up each picture and looking at it and just, feeling the memories and the love, and finishes cleaning the house. Well, the very next morning, on that same freshly dusted dresser is one of Finn's big, fat, white whiskers. And it wasn't a stray hair that had just like landed from somewhere. It was his whisker. And she was like flabbergasted, because it was like, 5 or 6 months since he'd passed. There's no way a stray whisker should have been floating around the house.
He's
Yet
like,
there it was by the pictures.
I think he wants an altar. I think he's dropping a hint.
Oh
he's
my
like,
gosh.
Not you can do better than this 3 pictures.
Oh, girl. She has altars for these darling cats that would I want an altar like her cats have.
Oh, okay.
Kendall, make note.
Maybe it was
when I die, make me an altar. Yeah, I think it was an offering. I think it was like, I'm with you. I'm still here. I got you back.
That's hard. Kendall should consider fostering cats.
She fostered one time these kittens, and she was like, it was so annoying, Britt.
Really?
They meow all the time. She didn't end up keeping all 3 of them, which I thought for sure she would.
Wow.
No,
did she keep one? None of them?
No. Oh. But you know what she did? She worked the prenatal kitten unit where she would bottle feed the tiny little baby kittens. I thought for sure she'd be like stealing them in handbags, but she held out. She did good.
Maybe you just need that kitten fix. You just need your kitten fix. And then you leave them. It's like babysitting babies. It's like you just need that baby fix. You hold the baby for a good 20 minutes.
Without the responsibility.
I remember this. Can't do anything. Just have to sit here with the baby in my arms for 3 years.
Yep.
I'm good. That solves that real quick. Oh, well, that's nice. I'm sorry, Kendall, that is she going to get another cat?
Yeah, she is in the market. So if anybody in the Austin area knows of some sweet, darling kittens that need a home, she is looking. She did get another cat, Rumbles, who's this adorable little derpy black cat.
Oh, Rumbles. That's a cute name.
And yeah, she's looking for a friend for Rumbles. So if anyone knows, she's ready.
Oh, that's adorable. Okay. Are you ready for my next story?
Always.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do any of these actually have anything to do with an animal? Nope, not that one. I got a little sidetracked in my storytelling and acquisition. But I want to tell you one real quick because I think it was like, didn't you say something about looking up? Oh, the butterfly looked up at her. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the butterfly looked up at Kendall. That reminded me of this one little story that I grabbed that I want to tell you. And this one is from John. And he says, I was at a football game and the guy next to me fell out with a heart attack. They stopped the game and hit him often with the paddles. Where's this guy from? He's got like some way of talking. He's writing
Boston.
The way he talks. Okay.
Throw in that Boston accent.
I was at a
Alissa.
football game. And the guy next to me fell out of his chair with a heart attack. They stopped the game and hit him often with those paddles. His color was an odd gray and I knew he was gone. I kept looking up because people always tell up floating up above their body. So I just kept looking up. I kept staring up and I saw nothing. The guy suddenly gave them a heartbeat and he was taken by helicopter to the hospital. I felt compelled to visit him 2 days later. And when I walked in the hospital, he immediately recognized me as the guy who kept looking up at me.
No way!
He said that I must have seen him because I was looking right at him above us. I left his room with a very large goosebumps. Right?
First off, your accent, mwah, mwah, so good. That story's fantastic.
Isn't it? I just like, he's like,
jack shit.
I don't see shit.
They say I should be doing this, but I don't see nothing.
What am I looking for? But I like that you were looking right at me.
But that's so cool.
And then he just felt compelled to visit this stranger in a hospital 2 days later. He had to like go find him. That was like they a little connected, and he like completed that circle for him because he's like telling his wife about his near-death experience. Yeah, I was looking down, and this guy next to me was looking up. He was looking right at me, like he saw me. And then he walks into the hospital room. He's like, holy shit.
Everybody make note. If you witness a sudden death.
Yeah. Don't help. Up. Just stare up. Don't help.
Absolutely no help.
No help.
Only
Maybe
looking up.
Just pound on their chest rhythmically to staying alive with your foot. You could do CPR with a foot and then look up. Isn't it?
Your foot's stronger than your hands, probably.
It is. Yeah. I doubt it will get as tired as your arms. New CPR by Alissa.
I mean, we're breaking ground here.
Okay, and then another one here. This one, my other story that I have says, I worked in a hospital in London for over 10 years and heard several stories from patients who had near-death experiences. One lady told me that a well-dressed older gentleman in Regency clothing was at the foot of her bed while the medics were battling to save her. He was smiling and nodding, his head encouraging her to hold on. She didn't know that the hospital was established in the 1700s. I think Regency clothing is like old-timey soldier outfit. Okay.
Thank you. I was going to actually ask you what the hell that was.
I didn't research that, but that's my guess based on the following sentence. Okay. Another lady in intensive care told me that a young soldier was with her in the room, a gentle, quiet presence. The lady was terminal, but she felt safe because the young soldier's with me. She couldn't have known that part of the hospital was used as a ward for World War I soldiers. A gentleman with terminal cancer dreamed constantly that he was walking in the most beautiful garden and felt such a sense of peace that he was not afraid to go. Some might say it's the medication that causes these vivid images, but I feel there is more to it. I just like that there's soldiers hanging out this hospital and like hanging out with the patients and comforting them.
I have a nurse friend and I have asked her before. She does not like hearing about my stories at all. She gets very scared, but I asked her. I mean, every time I see her, I was like, tell me more. She said that there are certain hospital rooms, and it happens in every single hospital. If you ask the staff which one is the haunted room, they will tell you right away, because there are for sure certain rooms in hospitals that have paranormal stuff happening.
Oh, it's so
interesting. Of course there are soldiers. Yes.
I know, but like it's not even family members. It's just the
just hanging out, supporting you.
Yeah. Okay. And then this is my last one, and it says it's another nurse. So these were from nurses, obviously. Sorry. I was taking care of a hospice patient when my brother died. She hadn't spoken above a whisper in weeks. My brother died on a Thursday afternoon, 7 months after a stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. He was buried on a Sunday, and I returned to work on Tuesday. Around 2 a.m., my patient clearly said, "Your brother is here." She had no idea I had a brother. She didn't know my brother was sick and had died. I didn't see him, but I'd like to think he was there to comfort me. I miss him every day.
Oh my God. Goosebumps.
So there was this whole experience of viewing, they're not even in past tense, it happens. People have near-death experiences, see people in the tunnel or wherever who are alive in real life, and they're like, what the hell are you doing here? Only to find out that, oh, you know, grandma didn't want to tell you that Uncle Chester died right before you went into surgery, but actually Uncle Chester died. And they're like, I saw Uncle Chester in the tunnel. Like these people or animals or whatever, they start running into people who they did not know passed away in the in their near-death experience, which is like,
oh, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, one thing that people use to try to validate these experiences.
I go to look into these stages of near deaths, the ring model.
I keep picturing it as rings because like his name is Ring, but it's just stages. He should have, the Kenneth Rings of Death would be a catchier.
Missed opportunity.
Model for him to design.
The Rings of Death.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. The Rings of Death. That's, I think that's the Hobbit or something. Is that what
series?
Yeah, I don't know. Kenneth Ring has devised a model of stages of near-death experiences that are recognized by near-death experiencers. The stages are 1, a sense of peace at the time of death. Stage 2 is a sense of separation from the body. Stage 3 is a sense of entering into darkness. Stage 4 is seeing a bright light. And stage 5 is a sense of entering the light.
Oh.
So I don't know. I'm, again, fascinated by this whole NDE thing. I could just go on and on about it, but maybe we should have a professional.
All right, let's do it.
Do you have any more stories, Britt?
I have one last story to tie this episode in a bow.
Okay.
Whoop. This comes from V. We lost our childhood dog, Sophie, in June 2020. She was a beautiful Shiba Inu and had turned 14 years prior. She passed rather tragically, and suddenly, one day she was fine, and the next she was having seizures. A day or two stay at the emergency vet, and we got the call at 4 a.m. that it was time to put her down, and she wasn't getting better. We said our goodbyes to her in the lobby of the emergency vet clinic. Our house felt empty for that day. The next day, it changed. It was as if her presence was back, and that's when it started. A collar jingle, scratching at the door, and whining in the kitchen while we were eating, just as she would if she was with us. The activity increased once we got her ashes back. My dad would find her footprints in the carpet in his bedroom. Blankets would be moved like she was sleeping in them. My brother saw her once sitting at the top of the stairs looking at him when he was up early in the morning. I've woken up randomly very early in the morning and seen her at the end of my bed. My dad has felt her nudge him for food, and I have felt her walk by me. The year before she passed, she found out that she could sleep under our Christmas tree and on the tree skirt. That Christmas after she passed, the tree skirt would be moved every day, like she was sleeping on it again. Different folds in, flat in some spots, and then we'd fix it, and it would end up like that the very next day. We didn't have any other pets besides her, and none of us had moved it. 2021 rolls around, and we had a big snowstorm roll in. My dad and brother noticed something outside while talking near the back door. Footprints. My dad goes out early in the morning to check them out. They are a complete match to hers. They showed up on the back side of the house on the opposite side of the wall to where her ashes are displayed on the mantelpiece. There's no landing marks like there would be if some animal had jumped from the fence. Literally nothing, just manifested from that spot and walked directly to the back door. There's no turnaround on the footprints. They just go to the back door. Oh, there's no turnaround footprints like you'd see with cats, foxes, or rabbits changing direction. There were no other footprints in the entire yard. They just come up to the door and completely stop. We have pictures and videos of all her footprints that we found around the house since she's passed. Things slowed down once we adopted our cat, Shoo, that's the cat's name, in June of 2021. Although we still hear her walk down the stairs here and there, Shoo will also watch and follow something that isn't there, typically after the stairs creak or a collar jingle.
Ooh.
That dog straight up did not know that it was dead.
No.
Just appeared back at the house and was like, cool, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I do. Sleeping in the beds, walking around, sleep under the Christmas tree.
That's what it seems like. I've heard stories like this before, that the dogs just kind of keep on keeping on. They're in their same spot they always slept in. And yeah, they're good. They're just dead.
It wasn't until that asshole Shoe arrived that the dog was like,
wasn't sure
fine.
If it was cat shoe, like a cashew. I couldn't hear that.
Oh, that's kind of clever. Cat shoe.
So I did not consider this. I woke up the other morning and Mitch was like, oh, babe, we've got like a leak in the roof or something, because he's looking out to the deck and we have an awning. There's an overhang. Our roof overhangs our deck a bit. So there's like a dry portion, maybe 3 feet or something before then the rain would actually hit the boards. Mm-hmm. So we're looking out there and there is like just a wet spot, like a wet puddle in this one spot where it should be dry, right up against the glass. And you can almost see drops, like something, we couldn't figure out where the water was coming from. Like, it doesn't look like it's wet above if the roof is leaking, right? But there's obviously like this puddle, like water has gotten there. And then I was like, oh, this is my theory. An animal got soaking wet, either went in the pond, got stuck in the rain, came up on the deck, hid under our awning to keep dry and drip dry there. But I didn't consider that it could have been a ghost animal. It could have been
ghost squirrel.
Ghost squirrel. There it is.
Ghost raccoon.
I hope it was like a ball of squirrels. Because it was big.
Ball of wet ghost squirrels.
Hey, Britt. Great stories.
You too. Bringing it this week. I love it.
I have some news.
If you have... Oh, shit, what?
I was just going to say I had some news that might upset you, but maybe I shouldn't tell it today. No, I'm going to tell it right now. I just need to end on, I don't know, an in your face, Britt, maybe?
Oh,
is this a new corner of the podcast?
In your face corner.
in your face corner. I just saw some headline. I don't even know what it's about, but that apparently the USA has like now hosted its first big meeting in government or something about UFOs, really tackling the problem head on.
Oh my God. Oh. I was all ready to hear what incorrect thing I pronounced or state that I got in the wrong location.
No, Pentagon officials testify at first public UFO hearing in more than 50 years. And what they say is they're real and we have to figure this out. And we can't let the shame and stigma that has stymied this exploration in the past make us stop
I'm
us.
All ears,
They're
Pentagon. Like, let's hear what you got.
Britt Kilpatrick shaming of us ain't going to stop.
CC me on that email, Pentagon.
And then also in other worldly news, Mitch sent me a video or a picture of like some little doorway on Mars that the Mars rover took a picture of. Apparently there's some rock formation that does look like, I'm always skeptical about when, there's a face, because human beings, we just do that. We look at shit. We look at a carpet, we see faces. Mm-hmm. This, however, looks like a purposefully cut out doorway in this rock passage, like a rectangular doorway set back. But apparently it's only like 1 foot tall. So
little people on
little
Mars.
Leprechauns. Who knows? I don't know. But little exciting rumblings.
Will you post that on the Facebook group?
The doorway deal?
Yeah.
I will.
I want to see that.
I will. Okay, that's it. That's all. And now we will get out of the in your face corner. That's what I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this new little section of the podcast. Is there anything you'd like to throw in my face?
I feel like every week is a throw in your face corner where I'm like, ghost dog Alissa, boom.
Oh, yeah.
In your face.
Keep it coming. You can do better than that. Let's try. We'll see.
If you have any incredible pet stories that you would like to share, living or dead, if you have any near-death experiences or know somebody who has had one so we can have them on the podcast, you can write into our hotbox at
SkeleTalesPodcast@gmail.com. If you have any stories that you would like to tell us with your mouth and tell us the words, and I'm gonna put a limit. I don't want to hear any gross pet stories. I don't want to hear any barfing of other things or anything like that. So I'm going to put a limit on that. I don't know.
If someone can beat the Klaus one, that's pretty good.
Or if you want to, okay, I'll make you a deal. If you want to tell them, please call the hotline and address them to Britt, and then she'll listen to them.
Done. 302-689-DEAD, 302-689-3323. We are on all of the social medias. Find us by searching SkeleTales or SkeleTales Podcast. We have a merch shop, skeletalespodcast.etsy.com. What else, Alissa?
You can also like, love, share, word of mouth, write a review for us. Just promote the word of the SkeleTales through the land. Spread the word. Go on a mission. Start knocking on doors and preaching the word of SkeleTales. Yeah.
SkeleTales. I love it.
Exactly.
Alyssa, this has been a true delight.
I know.
There is one last thing that I have to inform you of before we go.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
And that is,
let me get my
haunt y'all later.
Oh, haunt you later.
Good night.
Good night.